All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Roderick Lewis, External Relations Director for University Career Services at UNC Chapel Hill. Thank you for joining our inaugural presentation, Recruitment and Engagement 101 for Employers. I want to talk to you about the purpose for today's presentation. So we wanted to make sure that we gave an overview to our employer partners and also our campus community partners on just what it is that University Career Services will be offering this spring and all the opportunities that you have for recruitment and engagement, and some questions that we tend to get all the time that we thought would be useful just to be able to present at once so that our employer partners could go back and reference this presentation, or new employers could go and access this presentation as well. So we're going to hold tight to our time frame, which is 1 hour today. Everyone will be on mute by default. What we'd like you to do is, if you have questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A to ask those questions, and members of our team will be available to answer them, or we will get back with you after the webinar. The webinar is being recorded, as I stated earlier, and we are all working from home still, so there could be some potential for technical difficulties. However, if that happens, then one of our team members will take over, and we'll do our best to get back online should any difficulties occur. So the outline for today, I'm going to briefly speak about employee engagement and our recruitment guide that we developed last fall, and that we have been promoting, but that we haven't sent to all of our employer partners. So we want to make sure we get that out to you. Maximizing Handshake, jobs and event postings, interviews, what is that process and how to maximize that. Fairs and diversity themed events, which I'll be presenting, job shadows and career tracks. My colleague Casey Lowe, JLD coordinator and Experiential Learning program manager, she'll be presenting that. And our Carolina Career Sponsors program, which is an inaugural program that we're kicking off this spring, and that is being led by our Assistant Director for Employee Relations, Jonathan Adams. And then finally, our marketing and what we like to call our employee brand services, which I'll present, that's being supported by my colleague, Tessa Minnick. So with that, without further ado, I'd like to move on, and let's jump into the employer engagement guide. And we developed this guide last fall because we wanted to be able to help employers, to learn what are the ways to engage with us, because oftentimes we get a huge volume of employers that want to connect with us. Usually University Career Services, where I sit, is the gateway to the campus. However, a lot of companies want to be able to operationalize or be able to do things independently of having to wait on a phone call or a response to an email. And so we wanted to put together this guide to help employers to be able to be more self-directed in how they identify the proper channels to connect with students, or to build their brand on campus, or to get involved in specific types of recruitment events. And so the first question that went with this guide, on this guide is, what is your primary campus goal? And so that's something, if you already know what your goal is, then this guide is able to help you figure that out. In the cases where you're not very sure, that's when one of us, a person on my team, will speak to you and learn more about what your specific campus recruitment goals are and what you're trying to accomplish, and then what are the resources that we have, not only in University Career Services, across campus with our department-based career offices as well, since we are a decentralized career center campus. So, once we learn about, what your campus goal, and once you come in and you already know what your primary campus goals are, then, the next question you're going to need to ask yourself is, what's your campus recruitment strategy? And what we define that is, are you more focused on a department-based, strategy, meaning, for example, you may only be wanting to recruit business school students, or you may only, be interested in, technical students like computer science majors, or School of Information Library Science majors, public health majors, or what have you. And so there are some departments that have their own embedded department-funded career services personnel. And so we wanted to list those departments here on this guide so that you could know how to contact them and engage with them and see what specific services or initiatives and events they have for their student population. Other companies may have what we call a campus-wide all majors recruitment strategy. And in that case, that's when you will work expressly with University Career Services. Well, I shouldn't say expressly, but you will work with us primarily because all of our events are open to everybody. So we don't really have events where we say, oh, it's only for these students. Every student will be able to attend our event. And so what we want to do is make sure that we help employers figure out, what that looks like, because it could be the case where you come and introduce yourself to me, but we use like a hub and spoke model where I may do an employee intake, but I may say, hey, actually the department, based on what you're looking to do and the majors that you're looking to recruit, I need to connect you with the School of Journalism, or I need to connect you with Honors Carolina, or I need to connect you with the Keenan Flagler undergraduate business program, so on and so forth, right? And then there are some very large companies that want to do a hybrid strategy, meaning that they want to engage with University Career Services because they are open to all majors and they're open to, various, student years, what I want to say, their freshman, sophomore level of students for internships or full-time jobs for experiential learning programs. And then you have, those same companies that say, yes, but we also have specific opportunities for, technical students or business majors. And so just knowing what your campus recruitment strategy is will dictate the types of events and types of activities and initiatives that your organization can get involved in. And all of this is tied together by Handshake. So all of our department-based career offices, our main campus career office, which is University Career Services, we are the holders, owners of the Handshake platform, but that platform is used by all of the department-based career offices that we serve, and the students that we serve as well, except the MBA program, the Masters of Accounting, Law, Medical, and Dental programs. They have their own platforms, their own programs. And so what would happen, sometimes employers will want to use Handshake to reach MBAs, and MBA students are not on our platform, so they wouldn't see it. And so what we try to do is make sure that you get connected to the right person in the MBA program, because they have a different platform. And same thing with law and medical, they have their own unique platform. So just be careful of that and know that Handshake doesn't support these particular programs. But for more information, you can always, contact anyone at the external relations team, and then we will clarify that. The next part I want to talk to you briefly about is, some of the ways that employers can get involved when we talk about peer engagement, right? So we talk about, we do some surveys. We do what we call our volunteer employer engagement survey. In that survey, we list a lot of different, initiatives or activities that you could potentially get involved in each semester. And so these range from diversity types of events, from mentoring, from career tracks, from job shadows, from resume reviews, employer residence, different types of diversity events, career education workshops, the whole 9 yards. And so with these surveys, we sent these out a couple of weeks ago through our new newsletter that we are sending to employers. And so if you did not receive it, please check your spam folder, because we're using the iContact email platform. But after this presentation, you will be provided with these slides, and you'll be able to access any of these links. And so we have a strategy where we partner our employers with our career counselors throughout each semester with our career education workshops. And this has been very useful. This has been a game changer. It's been value added in so many ways, because not only does it strengthen the relationship between our employers and our career counselors, but it also provides our students to engage, have another touch point with employers and reinforce that relationship, so that they're getting the best of both worlds, and you're developing a relationship with students who could either be potential recruits, or they could be potential referrals to other students that that would like to work for your organization, or that could be interested in your organization. So these types of employer branding types of opportunities, these what we frame them as career development strategies where we involve our employers to support the career development and enhancement of our students, are key to ways, that don't cost anything and only your time and your talent, that we seek to engage employers within the framework of our career education workshops and career services initiatives. And this extends to various networking events and diversity initiatives as well. And of course, you have on here the link to all of our career and graduate professional school fairs that are taking place this spring as well. So, furthering that conversation, another thing, that we want to make sure our employers know about is how to maximize Handshake. Handshake, a lot of you, the employers, you have your own applicant tracking system, you have your own platforms that you use internally, and now you have to, also learn how to use Handshake. In the case that, you don't have your own, this is an additional resource, free to use. However, you have to do more than just post and pray, right? So we tell, employers, don't just post a job and just, sit back and just say, hey, why, nobody's applying. You still do need to make sure that, what you're putting in your job description, making sure, you're selling the job opportunity, you're providing information that would be appealing to the types of target students you're looking for. You're selling, the benefits of the organization or benefits that are important to this generation of students. And, if from a broad-based type of viewpoint, in looking at what is important, especially in this COVID-19 environment, well, opportunities for flexible work arrangements, of course, are going to be top of mind, but that's not to say that every student wants to work remotely. There are a lot of students that do miss the in-person experience. And so being upfront with students about options they have, whether they be in-person or remote or some hybrid approach and what that looks like, can go a long way in positioning the types of jobs and your organization with these students. Being upfront about, any type of training and development they will have, or any specific, technical skills or behavioral or leadership skills that they will learn as a part of this job, or how that job adds value to not only the specific department they'll work with, but also the organization as a whole. Those are things you want to make sure you're selling, right? And when we talk about diversity and inclusion, making sure that you're using, gender neutral language. Your recruiters, I know a lot of you already know this, but we just want to reinforce looking at ways to make sure you're not excluding candidates based on the type of language that you're using in the job description, whether it's, race neutral, gender neutral, what have you, or if you are targeting, specific identities, or that you want to make sure that they do apply, make sure you use that language as well. But how you do it is going to be, key to how it attracts, particular students. And then being able to reinforce that with information that they will find on your website. With interviews, Julie Pendergraph is the one who manages our interview schedule. And so you want to reach out to her. So I provided her contact here. But what you're going to have to do is create that schedule, and they can help you creating the schedule. And we have set up a room here, but we're just talking about a virtual room. So you just organize and set up, hey, what time frame do you want to do these interviews? And so she schedules it so there isn't overlap with other organizations for these same time slots. But of course, you as an organization can do these things outside of Handshake as well. But this is an additional service that we offer. And I wanted to bring up this slide here on your job postings again, and just to show you that the fields that you have. So once you put in the job title, make sure you brand your job title. A lot of times people forget that the job title, just like the subject line in the email, is one of your primary marketing tools. So the way you would design or write your job title, make it snazzy, make it descriptive, make it something that really speaks to what the person will be doing, so that it piques interest. And that's going to be the first thing that they see. But at the bottom, you see that you have those basic details, but then you also can add in preferences and tools and other details about the job. That's where you can customize what goes into that job description and the types of majors or class years that you'll be looking to apply to those jobs. And one more thing I want to say, if you have any questions, please, again, use the Q&A and someone will respond to you. So another important thing that I want to make sure that employers know is when you are scheduling events, so you can schedule, information sessions, and you can also do outreach to students, as I spoke to earlier, based on major, based on GPA, based on their primary college. I mean, there's all these categories that you have at your disposal to make the field as narrow or as broad as you want. And so a lot of times people would say, well, just try to make it as broad as possible. A lot of times that's not always to your best interest, right? Because then what happens is you're speaking to no one. And so, but you do want to, be aware of not being too narrow as well. And that goes into your organization's philosophy on who have you identified in terms of specific types of majors or skills or experiences or profiles that could do the job. So if your organization has already preordained that, no, you have to have a computer science degree to do this job, that's like, you can't be an English major or you can't be a philosophy major and do this job, then that's something you've already predetermined. However, if you look at the job description and your hiring managers and recruiters and everyone says, in the past, we've said that we've needed, let's say someone with a business major to do this job, but actually, people that have English backgrounds or philosophy majors or history majors, like they're learning a lot of, great skills, and they're learning, leadership skills, they're learning presentation skills, they have some digital, technology skills, and actually they're able to do this job as well. So let's expand the list of majors that we, open this up to. Then that's a strategic move on your part because you're going to be able to access more talent. So I urge you to look at really the job requirements and really take a hard look on how many majors can actually, getting the academic training or the experiences to be able to do this. So you're not just so narrow-minded on the majors that get, usually the highlighted ones that get the most branding, so to speak, with your health majors and your business majors and your tech majors. There are a whole lot of majors that can do a lot of things. You'd be amazed at what these students learn and what they're able to do, and even their interests outside of just the classroom. So don't let the major define the student. Let the student define what they're getting out of the major and how they want to apply that to your organization. That'll help you be able to reach more students. Now, in saying this, I will let you know that it's been very competitive for employers to try to reach out and get students to apply to their jobs. And it doesn't, I think if we look at why and we understand those reasons, then it's not a very hard to understand. But everything is virtual now. And so imagine the deluge of information that these students are getting, not only from all these jobs that are on Handshake, because Handshake will automatically send them jobs based on their profile. They're getting emails from their faculty. They're getting emails from student club leaders. They're getting emails from career services. They're getting emails from administrators. So they are getting bombarded with so much information because now there is no other way to communicate. There's no more physical presence to reduce the amount of electronic communications. And so we've seen a drop off in terms of participation in our career fairs, between 40 to sometimes 50% versus what the in-person equivalent event was. I've had companies contact me and say, hey, we didn't really get a lot of people applying to our jobs compared to last year. And so it's not that students aren't interested, it's that really we can't understate or underestimate the psychological impact that COVID-19 has had on the student psyche, all right? It's had that on even our psyche as professionals, but it's really done a number on our student population. So we do need to be sensitive to that. So it's not always, don't take it personal, don't think it's something wrong. We've seen that same thing, and I've talked to career centers across the country, and they've experienced a similar drop. And that's something we're going to have to work through, but we don't want to try to say, well, let's just do more communications. We just want to be more strategic with our outreach and how we connect with our student population. Speaking about our fairs again, so here's our lineup. And this year we're doing what I call a job functions based career fair. So we're experimenting with different models this year. So you've probably seen we've done industry based fairs, career fairs. We've done career fairs based on student major clusters. And this spring, we wanted to do fairs based on job function clusters. And these are job functions that our data shows us that are in high demand. And so if you even look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Department of Labor, and our own internal Handshake data, these are the job function families that are really experiencing a lot of postings and high demand. And so we wanted to organize our spring fairs around these for a number of reasons. that allow employers to be more targeted in where they invest their time. And likewise, they allow students to be more targeted as well. One of the things that, students, their time is limited, so they're not going to be, attracted to one big event that has 100 employers and that's a 4-hour event, because virtually is more difficult. It seems like it's easy, but you're trying to navigate that many companies and trying to visit that many companies. It's not as intuitive as when you just walk around in a fair. You could just walk and browse and, have these sporadic, meetings. It's not easily replicated in the virtual space in this, inaugural type of virtual launch, I would say, on a large scale. It's getting better. So this is an experimental, career fair strategy that we are, executing in the spring. And so we encourage our employers to look at the fairs that best fit the types of job postings that they are seeking to fill in the internship and full-time recruiting needs. If you're only trying to hire one person, maybe a fair isn't for you, right? I would just, advocate for using Handshake and using, your other strategies through your employee referrals or alumni or department contacts. But if you're looking to recruit multiple students for full-time intern, then I would suggest our fairs. Another thing I wanted to touch base on is each semester we create what I call a campus-wide employer-involved events calendar. And this is from all of our departments that I just referred to earlier that have career coordinators or career services personnel based in their departments. And so we ask these departments each semester to send us all of the major events that they will be doing that employers can get involved in. And so I encourage you to view those events as well, because there's so many events that University Career Services doesn't organize that individual departments organize for employers not only to recruit, but also to support the career development of their students. This can be through hackathons, through consulting projects, through any number, treks and all of these types of things that you can do at the department-based level for those departments that you may be interested in building your campus brand with. And so for more information about that, again, just contact me, but that calendar is on our website at that link that is here on this page. And finally, in terms of for my part of this presentation, I want to talk about, our diversity themed events. And one of the things that we've introduced this year is a diversity scorecard and what we call the Employer Anti-Racism and Gender Equality Scorecard. And what this scorecard is for is to help us, for one thing, to communicate, how an organization's DEI initiatives are supporting, students from historically disadvantaged groups, or how they are, what are they doing across, specific frameworks that the student can easily follow and that we can easily communicate to students. But also from the employer standpoint, we want to help our employers to better communicate their initiatives as well. And so as we do our diversity programming, we've taken a more proactive approach in terms of wanting to really look at the types of employers that attend specific diversity themed events. And so it's not at the exclusion of any type of employer, but we want to make sure that, hey, if we're putting on a workshop for a specific population of underserved students, and we're looking for an employer that has some strong DEI initiatives within our what we call our retention and advancement perspective, then we want to make sure that we don't just say anybody that wants to show up, just show up. We're like, no, we want to look at your organization. We want to see, do you have the types of programs or initiatives or activities that will make you a strong partner to be involved in that particular workshop or event, right? And so in the case that you may be a small employer or an employer that doesn't have DEI initiatives across these perspectives, and if you look at this scorecard, it's based on a balanced scorecard methodology, and it feeds into the balanced scorecard as well. So it's more, I won't be able to go into detail on it here, but just the ways that we use it is really to help companies as well. So some of the ways I've already helped some companies where they use it to do a deep dive into what are they doing in diversity as it relates to these 4 perspectives, right? And so it helped them to uncover a lot of good things they were doing, but also to see some gaps. And in some areas where they wanted to know what other employers were doing, I was able to provide them publicly available information that I benchmarked on employers that are doing, great in some of these areas, and some companies that have some gaps that they're trying to close. And so basically, all of this information that we find or that we gather is from, an employer's annual report or publicly available information, or it's information that they ask, can the employer share with us, or is it something they can make public? And basically, what we use it for internal purposes, and we just able to benchmark employers against different types of programs and initiatives that they make transparent or make available as it pertains to just availability of data. So we're not so much concerned about do you have what percentage of it's underrepresented group do you have in management or this, but we just want to know, do you even make that information available so that if a student from said group were to ask you during the interview, hey, could you tell me, how many Blacks or Indigenous Americans do you have in executive management? Well, we don't want a company to say, well, that's just not something we can answer, because that's not, we don't want organizations to hide that type of information if someone is asking, because that's going to be germane to that person's decision making. And so we want our organizations to be transparent. If it's a low number, you just say it's a low number, and here are some things that we have in place to try to improve upon that number. So that's where we're taking our cue from a lot of the leading companies that have actually done that and are doing that. And so the transparency of that data, it allows for mutual collaboration, not only with the student, but also with career services, so we can partner with our organizations to say, hey, if you've identified some gaps, if you've identified that you have high turnover among certain historically disadvantaged groups, what are some ways we can partner with you to help you to reduce those gaps? And that's based on research that we're doing, based on some best practices that you may be doing, but we want to serve as partners. So that's how we'll use this scorecard as a means to support our employer partners, and also to support our students that identify as being historically disadvantaged as it pertains to specific programming that we may be doing in diversity with networking events or workshops or fairs or leadership webinars and what have you. And so again, contact me if you want to know more about this, and I'll be happy to talk with you about how this could benefit your organization in terms of how well you communicate your existing or planned diversity and inclusion initiatives and strategies. With that, I'm going to pass the presentation to my colleague, Casey Lowe, and she's going to talk to you about our experiential learning programs that we are launching.
Hi, everyone. I'm Casey Lowe. Thanks, Roderick, for passing me the mic. Happy Friday, everyone. I am the Job Location and Development Coordinator for our Employer Relations team at UNC Chapel Hill. I'm involved in part-time job and opportunities as well as experiential learning. I'm here today to kind of cover a little bit about what we're doing and how you can get involved and what are the benefits behind these experiential learning experiences. So as we know, experiential learning is the process of learning through experience and then having them reflect on it. Job shadowing and career treks are ways that students can explore occupations and careers, and then in turn, they can maybe make plans for their goals and their career development plans. As I also like to distinguish that job shadowing is really a one-on-one situation, maybe 1 to 2 students, and they are shadowing an occupation usually. So they get to follow this person day to day, see their daily activities. This can include staff meetings or client meetings, or if this is visiting sites, things of that nature. Versus a career trek, which is usually a group of students, maybe 6 to 10, who go and visit a company. And from there, they get to meet various people who work there from various different job functions, as well as get to know the company and the organization. And this way, students are learning about industries versus occupations. We are doing a virtual style right now, which we're very excited, and it'll be launching this spring. Please reach out if you do have any questions about how to get involved. But I would like to really highlight the benefits of job shadowing and career trek for you, especially as employers and recruiters. One is build your brand. Students who have participated in these experiences with you get to go back to campus and are an ambassador already. So they already have inside knowledge and experience that they can talk about to other students. Secondly, you get to recruit UNC talent. So I always say that these aren't always recruiting activities. They're definitely, career exploration, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't find your next star intern or your next star recruiter. Especially when students or applicants have had experience with these companies, and they will always come back to familiarity, especially if they had a good experience. So you never know where a one-day job shadow could take the student or your company. And additionally, alumni or not, you get to give back as a professional. I know for me, it's really important just because, getting a job and trying to figure out life is a little bit hectic, especially right now. So it's, a little bit of a give back to the student who we were, or the young person we were back then. Of course, please let me know if you have any questions or anything. We are going to try to do some summer virtual experiential learning programming, and there's my email on the screen. I live by that email, so please feel free to reach out if you want to talk more about job shadowing, career treks, experiential learning, anything like that. Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much, Casey. Next, my colleague, Jonathan Adams, is going to talk about our sponsorships program.
Great, thanks, Roderick. So we're kicking off, really rebooting our sponsorship program for this spring. We have some exciting opportunities for employers across a range of different experiences for our students here at UNC. It's a great way to increase your visibility, your footprint on campus and your recruiting efforts, as well as directly supporting current Carolina students in the process. So we have some different options that are available. The career peer program that we have is a really vital program for us. So we have a group of students who are trained to review resumes, to meet with students one-on-one. They also do programs across campus. So the opportunity to sponsor that career peer program is a great way to get additional awareness built across campus because our peers do so many different programs. So some of the benefits you would get would be having your logo, having your company's information on any event that the peers do. So we're looking at that. That would be for this coming fall. So that's something to consider if that's of interest. There's also potentially opportunities to give back to the peers as well through that by presenting on topics at some of their meetings that they have and things like that. So definitely a great way to continue to build your brand while also contributing back to a really vital part of our program. Something else that we're going to be launching this spring. So we have several different signature events that you can sponsor as well. So for this spring, we're going to be having different events that are specific to diversity, inclusion, equity initiatives that we're launching as well. So upskilling workshops, the job shadowing and career treks that we mentioned, as well as advancement and acceleration programs. So a lot of different opportunities that are coming up. For more information, you can just reach out to me and I'll share my contact information as well. But a great way to be featured, to again get your name out there during the event while also supporting these great initiatives that are really important to our student engagement, career development, and skill building. And then the last is our Friends of the University Career Services Fund, which is a flexible fund that supports more student programming as well as our operational efforts and our staff professional development, which is really important to continuing to be able to give the level of service and support that we do to our students and other stakeholders. So this would be something where you get recognition of on our website, as well as different marketing to families and alumni. So for all of these too, so one of the things that we want to make sure is that we don't want to just take your money. So we want to make sure that this is a value add for you. And one of the things we'll do at the end is to provide a report for here are the ways that your funds really impacted different programs, the reach that it had across campus, those types of things, so you know what your return on investment is. So I think that piece is really important. And then also just some of the highlights in general in terms of the number of students that we reach during information sessions, during interviews, all those types of things. We can talk in more detail about kind of based on what you're looking at, the potential reach, the potential impact of that, and how many eyes you'll get on that sponsorship that you really impact of what you're putting out there. And then, so an additional piece to that, beyond the sponsorship opportunities for the spring and looking into next fall, we also have a series of different opportunities for marketing as well. So there's a range of different opportunities there that that we can look at as well. So we'll move to the next slide and take a look at that too. So yes, we're launching this as well. So a great opportunity to, again, increase your impact, your outreach on campus through social media. We're going to be starting social media takeovers, recognition on the career services website, website branding. So there's a lot of different ways that you can extend your reach through channels that students are going to already and that we drive students to on a consistent basis. So again, this would be something where you want to reach out to Roderick or Tessa directly to get a sense of what are some opportunities that would be the best fit for what your needs are and what your goals are. But a host of other ways that you can build out that impact and brand. So yeah, so we've really changed kind of how we're approaching this in terms of additional resources and tools to really extend your recruiting efforts at UNC. If you want to talk more about the sponsorship opportunities, you can reach me directly at jonathan_adams@unc.edu. Happy to talk more about what might be a good fit for your organization and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. And just to add a little bit more about our marketing opportunities, what we wanted to do was to provide organizations, employers, and different avenues to brand themselves outside of the normal channels that we have. And so normally when we have any of our events, they're going to be marketed, on Handshake. They're going to be marketed through our newsletter. They're going to be, sent through all of our campus community partners. So that includes all of our department-based career offices that are led by their individual career coordinators and managers. It's going to include faculty and staff that are within different departments. And so we do even student club leaders, and fraternities and Greeks. And I mean, we do a great job, really getting the word out, but still the challenge is we can't do individual promotions for 500 companies, right? And so if you want to differentiate yourself, you may say, hey, that's great that you guys are doing all of that, but we want to differentiate ourselves out of the 200 or 300 companies that are going to be attending an event, or out of the 100 or 50 companies, what have you. And so these are these types of a la carte services that would allow you to get your own marketing platform to where you're not competing with another organization. And so when you look at our social media takeovers, or mentioning your company on social media, or our newsletters, or what we have new for this spring is a diversity recruitment guide. And this is something I'm managing that I send out to our diversity program managers on campus, and because they are interfacing, or they are the ones who engage with their student populations that are that represent some of these diverse populations that they manage. One of the things you want to look at is how can that be a benefit or value to your organization, right? And we have some things on here too, since students will be back on campus. We don't know what that would look like yet, but we wanted to anticipate opportunities that, even though employers won't be engaging with students physically on campus, that doesn't mean that you can't market and promote your brand. And so one of the things that we wanted to look at was how can we still use the physical presence that we have on campus to still do some marketing. So we came up with a strategy similar to like a kiosk, right? Or A-frames, things that are just these standalone marketing tools, but nobody's standing right beside it. There's no person there. It's just the actual product or some advertisement of the product. And so if students are going to be on campus, if there's going to be physical presence, then we could have A-frames across campus in strategic locations That could be marketing, promoting your company, leading up to a specific event, whether that event be a career fair or some type of information, session, or some type of, networking event or workshop or what have you. Anything that aligns with your company brand that you want to promote, to make sure that you target as many students as possible to participate or attend that event, or just recognize your brand. Then we've tried to create opportunities for that. One of the things that we were really excited about, we didn't get a chance to implement in the fall. We decided to pause a lot of things in the fall so that we wouldn't just overwhelm not only our own staff, but students, was looking at these recruiter-less tables with pop-up banners. And so, since we said, well, we're not going to have recruiter presence, but that doesn't mean we can't have, these tables set up in our physical space, in our career center, where recruiters could potentially send a pop-up banner and some of their marketing materials, and it would just be like something where students, we could promote to students and say, hey, come learn more about this company and see what they have to offer, and maybe you have some brochures or some of your contact cards or whatever, but the company students get, the presence can still be there and students can engage with it. So trying to think of different ways to use physical types of tools, but also like our e-monitors, things where students, if they're physically on campus, they'll still be able to see whether the company is there or not. And so with these would be things that you would talk with me and my colleague Tessa about, because we want to give you the numbers, as Jonathan talked about. We want to see if it's right for you. So with social media, some of the natural questions you would have is like, well, how many followers do you have, right? And any other questions you want to ask on those analytics. We do keep up with our analytics. We track those analytics, and so we want to talk to you about that information, and then let you make the decision on, hey, that's worth it for me to invest in that if I can reach that many eyeballs, so to speak, right? And the same thing with our newsletter. How many people, students, is that going to? With our diversity recruitment guide, how many people is that going to? How many students, and should I say, how many students could it potentially go to, and how many diversity program managers and staff could it go to? And so these are questions and things that we're going to talk to you about. And there's also, with our website, we developed a new program we call our Career and Industry Pathways program. And so we've developed some career and industry pathways based on our analytics in terms of where students usually go within these type of career clusters, and also the typical industry clusters that tend to most heavily recruit at Chapel Hill. And so if your organization is aligned with any of these types of career pathways or industry pathways, well, on that website, we want to offer you the opportunity to brand that site with your logo. Now, we would probably have it where we say a maximum of 3 to 4 companies at any one time can have their logo on this site, but it will brand you with that particular industry or career pathway. And then we would not only will we allow you to have your logo, but also a spotlight. Maybe you want to have an alumni spotlight, some contact information that a student can connect with, or recruiter spotlight, and have their contact information. Because on these websites, we're also able to share analytics and say, well, here's how many visitors this particular website gets, daily, weekly, monthly, or what have you. And again, it allows you as an organization to make some decisions about where you want to invest your campus recruitment dollars as it pertains to getting the return on engagement that you would like to have for your employer. So the number of things that you can see that we have going on this spring that are new, that we are trying to launch, and that we want to make sure that we are aligning for the best interest of our employer partners, our campus community partners, and our students, because this is a different time period than any of us have been in. So there's no playbook. There's no, oh, here's what you do during the pandemic. That we don't have that, and neither do our employer partners. And so we want to make sure that our employer partners know that. Don't feel you have to overkill communications, because that's not going to work. But let's try to work together to be more strategic in how we do reach students, and then understanding what your strategy is going to be most important. Because if we look at a football analogy, you can have some combination of a ground game or an air game. And some companies are going to be better equipped to do that than others, right? So some companies can afford to invest more heavily when we were in person anyway, to having, people physically coming on campus to attend all these events. Well, that was a natural barrier to a lot of companies, because they said, well, we don't have staff, we don't have a dedicated campus recruitment team, so we can't just send people out to be on campus doing coffee chats or doing lunch and learns or doing information sessions or doing networking events or doing recruiting residents or doing mentoring or resume reviews or mock interviews, all these types of events that we make available. You had to have a strong campus recruitment team and the resources to carry that out. Well, now that we're virtual, everybody can do it, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a small company or a large company, everybody can do that. Now, that may democratize the process, but it's actually created more choice. And so it's actually overwhelmed students, because now, you went from a menu of, let's say, 10 items to 100 items, because there's no barrier to posting a virtual event, right? There's no barrier to participating in a virtual event. And so because of that, because of all this extra choice, you're going to find that attendance would likely be less than what it would have been in the past. But we just want to let you know that we are aware of that. And we realize that there are some things that, are out of our control. There's some things where we say, okay, well, what are some better ways that we can market these programs and opportunities using, best practices from marketing that we use as well, right? So we're not, just creating things, but we look at marketing strategy and we try to do, product placement as well, just like a corporation would. So we say, well, the best place to place your product, of course, is going to be in the classroom because that's where students are spending the most time, and faculty are going to have more face time with students than anybody outside of, people that may be in academic advising or some other types of student support services. And so we try to look at what are possibilities for us to engage our faculty and how we, make sure that our students are aware of opportunity. But just know that that is going on, and that we do have some dedicated, faculty that are supporting us as we grow out what we've created last summer was a faculty career champions program. And so these are faculty that are really, trying to support and integrate career services activities within the context of their classroom assignments. And so that could be, sending their students to having their students participate in specific, number of events, or doing research on companies, or, make sure they do, mock interviews, or, making sure they do an experiential learning opportunity. So these are things where you as an employer can build your brand and also engage students, and that will increase the opportunities or likelihood that students will recognize your company when you do post these jobs. And finally, we invest heavily in Handshake, and it's a challenge because, as I stated earlier, students are just overwhelmed with everything being virtual now. And so we do tell companies that, look, Handshake is going to be your best bet in terms of advertising and promoting your events or job opportunities or fellowships or, internships, experiential, learning opportunities or what have you. Because when students fill out their profile and complete their profile, then Handshake's analytics will suggest, to them the upcoming events based on that student's interest or based on what they've completed in their profile. So what we have to do, and from a career services department, and even our department-based career officers as well, we're constantly encouraging students to look on Handshake, navigate Handshake. We try to do workshops to make sure they understand how to maximize Handshake as well and to complete their profiles. And Handshake has some analytic tools that will send students reminders to update their profile or complete their profile or make their resumes visible. All these little things that will help the student also be better aware of the wealth of opportunities that are out there. And so with that, I'm going to end our presentation here, and I'll just go back, briefly to one slide, this one here, just to let everyone that's on the call today know of the upcoming career fairs that will be held this spring, career and information fairs, and they will all be on Handshake. So I listed that here, that's going to be the virtual platform, and you will be getting some information if you haven't already on, what do you need to do to be successful as a virtual recruiter or employer on the Handshake platform. it is a different format if you've used other virtual fair platforms. We used the Handshake platform a few times in the fall, and we decided to go all in on it in the spring. So with Handshake, it does allow you as an employer to schedule one-to-one or group sessions in advance. So it's a little different than some other platforms where you have a virtual chat room and students can just enter that chat room. With this one, students, you as an employer will build a schedule in advance. So you'll build a schedule of one-to-one appointments that are about 10 minutes each, or you can build a schedule of group sessions if you want to open up to more students. And that combination of one-to-one appointments and one-to-one sessions and group sessions is what each employer will have. And so as we're marketing these fairs to students, what we're telling students is, hey, sign up for these appointments. Go ahead, sign up for, pick a slot, sign up, so that you as an employer already know in advance, okay, this is how many people I'm going to be talking with. Here's how many people I can expect to have, in this group session. And so it's been pros and cons. There's some employers that love it. Some employers that are not, so sold on it because it's not as organic. And there's some students that love it, and there's some students that are not as sold on it because if the one-to-one slots are taken, and student can only join a group session. So there's no perfect format for virtual affairs, but we are looking at the Handshake platform for the spring, and then we want to get feedback from you as our employer partners to see which platform allows you to make the best use of your time and engagement with these students. And ultimately, we will also get feedback from the students as well. And what we want to ultimately do is make sure that our students and employers are able to engage and interact, and you'll be able to get all the student profiles for the students who participated in these events. So we thank you for attending today. Thank you for participating. If you have any questions, please use the contact information that we have presented to you on this link here, or most of you have my email address because I've sent the webinar to you, so you can follow up with me, and I will get your question to the right person if I'm not that person, even if it's a person in one of our department-based career offices from the business school or from the School of Journalism or Computer Science or School of Information Library Science. We got our School of Government and Honors Carolina, and School of Public Health. So if there's any questions that I can't answer, I'll make sure to connect you with the appropriate contact on that side. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you learned a lot today and understand some ways that you can connect and engage with University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. We look forward to partnering with you this spring. And again, we wish you the best success in your recruitment this spring. Thank you. All right.